Hi folks, it's John from lastchanceautorestore.com. This is an introduction video, and it looks kind of strange because we've got a lot of trim off of this car, but what we're going to do is we're going to share with you a slideshow of what this car looked like originally when it landed here at Last Chance Auto Store, and then you'll see all the photos. And then what we'll do, then we'll come back and then we'll show you what kind of condition it's in, and we'll do just a brief walk around. So this is quite a rare car. This is a 1958 Chevrolet Corvette, and they're all convertibles back then, and it's a numbers matching car, and we'll talk about that shortly. Okay, so now we're back with this 1958 Chev Corvette. So obviously, if you noticed in the pictures, when the car first arrived here, the engine and all the trim was intact. It had the convertible soft top frame on the car with the full windshield, with no material on the convertible top, and it didn't have any of the door panels or the seats. So the client who had this car originally took it to an upholstery shop, and they took the convertible top off. They took out the seats and the door panels, and they were going to do all new leather work for him. From there, the client wanted us to check out the engine. So the engine, the transmission, the clutch operation, and then do a visual check over on it, and then confirm whether it's numbers matching or not. So a lot's happened since then. So what we've done is we've removed, and we'll share with you in an upcoming video, we removed the original engine. We also removed the transmission, and it is numbers matching. So what they mean by numbers matching in a Corvette is the engine block has a serial number. A lot of the components on the engine has numbers and date codes on them. So things like the distributor assembly has the original numbers. The heads both have the casting numbers on the outside, that's correct. Then you have things like your water pump and your thermostat housing and a lot of items like that. They're all numbers matching, meaning this engine is the original engine and transmission that came with the car. So we'll talk about that in the future when we look at the engine and take it apart. We'll share with you later on. So this original car has been painted several times. Probably hard to tell in the video because white typically always looks good in photos, or in videos, but this car has been painted probably 3 to 4 times in its life, and they've always sprayed over top of the lacquer paint, and there's a lot of reaction and cracking. So I'll just give you some things to look at. It's a little bit dusty, so you'll notice this will probably come up. You see there's some cracking or scaling here, and you can see where the paint is chipping off. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see how nasty the paint job is, but there's a lot of flaws in the paint, a lot of dirt, and a lot of cracking and spider cracking. And then things like this, where you remove the trim, and they've always painted, they masked the trim and tried to sand and paint around it. So you can see, it'll probably come up in the videos, there's lots of build-up or ridges of the paint. And then as we go down the door panels and stuff too. So there's been a lot of repairs done at different areas. There's a little bit of a bump or a shunt here at one time. There's a lot of body filler in this area, and we'll share with you how that looks later on. There was quite a bit of work. You can see we've got almost all of the trim off. There's clips, and a lot of them are very tricky to get at in certain places. And if you noticed on the passenger side, this piece of chrome is not all the way off yet, because we've got about 3 clips underneath back here that aren't letting go yet. So we've lubricated them, and we're letting them soak before we can work the rest of this piece of chrome off. But we have obviously the windshield, the door posts, the window regulators, all of the badging and trim off of both sides. And the whole front, obviously, you see all the chrome is off. And then all the pieces and components of the grille. And then as we go down, we'll go around the big post on the hoist. You can see we have all of the pieces off of, all the components off of the outside of the door. And then you can see we have all of the inside pieces off. And then another idea here, you can see where the handles have never been off the car. So you can see, probably won't show up in the camera, but there's quite a bit of thickness difference between this section that the handle was on and this exterior. And then as we go, you can see the rest of the chrome. There's lots of chrome. We refer to this as the clamshell that the convertible top folds into. We removed all of the chrome trim and the hooks. And then this is a 1 year only, the 1958, where they're nicknamed the chrome suspenders. So they have the 2 nice, beautiful pieces of chrome that go in the trunk lid. But you can see where there's been concerns over time, where people have used some type of caulking material to try and hold the trim together. The holes are in the wrong position, and you can see where they're oblong. The factory never did things like that. So there's been some issues. Obviously here too, you can see there's a bunch of incorrect caulking. So they've broken clips. We talked about it in a previous, in later we'll talk about the damage or cracking that you see. So they've just made a little highlight and an obvious flaw here. There's cracking through the fiberglass where the lock assembly is, where it seats in. There's quite a bit of cracking that we're going to have to repair and deal with. And then as we come along this side, once again, you can see there's a lot of separation or cracking, and the chrome was covering that up, so that'll probably show up in the camera. So not a lot of surprises. The bones of this car is very, very good. So for a 1958, like I mentioned earlier, it's been painted a few times. Everything that has been done to it has been put on top of the lacquer paint. So that's going to react and never be happy with whatever's laying over top of it. So once we have the rest of the chrome off of this top fender, we've got a little bit of chrome to take off in the console. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set the wheels back on. We'll take it off of the hoist and we'll go over to the body side. And what we'll do is we'll start sanding it, and we'll strip off all these numerous layers of paint and body filler, and it will expose previous repairs that were done poorly, and then we'll deal with all that. You can see how many components there are. They're all labeled. It looks kind of messy right now, but you can see we have all of our brackets left and right. They're all labeled, all of the bits of chrome, your tail lights, your headlights, and then as we go further, you can see the doors. So we have one table that's for the driver's door, and then we've got grill components, and then we have another table dedicated for the passenger side door. So there's lots of reconditioning that we'll do to the different components, but we want to make sure that, because there's so many pieces of chrome, we want to make sure that we label them all. We know exactly where they go, because there's upper, lower, and medium for the spears for the fenders. And you can see, for example, they're all labeled. And then we make notes of the pins if they're damaged or if they were glued in. So we've got basically a notebook as we're disassembling the car. So we have everything labeled. We know what we need to work on and recondition after the car is painted before it's reassembled. So it's quite a rare car. It's a true numbers matching 1958 Chevrolet Corvette. I thank you for watching. I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.